Okay, so hey guys, and welcome back to another predictions video, and in today's video I'm going to be predicting the Janibek versus Gualtieri fight. If you are new around here though and you have not yet subscribed, please do so. Like the video if you do indeed like the video, and let's get straight into it. So going into this fight, Janibek is 14-0 with 9 KOs and Gualtieri is 21-0 and 1 with 7 KOs. This fight is for the IBF and WBO World Middleweight titles. Janibek's last fight was a KO in round 2 versus Butler, and Gualtieri's last fight was a win via unanimous decision versus Falcao. Janibek, of course, has a lot of momentum behind him. He's been seen as the boogeyman of the division by possibly being ducked by people. I'm not going to really claim anything like that, but he's been seen as somebody who's been quite difficult to make fights with because of the fact that he's not got really too much to, not of a reason too much to be fought against by some of the champions. But I respect Gualtieri for taking this fight 3 months after his last fight, I believe, as well. So fair play to him. And I mean, whoever wins this is then going to be having to get fights because there's going to be a reason to fight them. We're having 2 world championship belts, and so yeah, this is why it's an important fight. It's a big fight. I think it's going to be a good fight, to be honest. I think people are possibly sleeping on this fight, in my opinion. But I think it's going to be a good fight. Of course, Janibek is a southpaw, so that's a little bit to it. Speak about the last fight. Janibek's last fight was a very dominant KO versus Butler. But I feel like most people expected that. I mean, I predicted it, I believe. I think everybody knew that Butler wasn't going to stand a chance. He's not really at that level. The fight before for Janibek versus Bentley was a bit more of an interesting fight where things got to see a bit more, but I'll speak a bit more about that in a moment. Gualtieri's last fight, one which people didn't really think he was going to win, but he did what he had to do. He moved around very well, made it difficult for Falcao, and of course boxed very well. And like I said, just he's a little bit different to other fighters because he doesn't always necessarily come for the victory. Sometimes is happy to just move around and then pick his shots when he wants to throw his shots and just frustrate opponents, and that's what makes him interesting, and that's what's got him to this point, because like I say, he's different to other fighters and it's an interesting style, but it might not be seen on paper as most entertaining, but it's difficult to fight against, and that's what makes this fight a tough fight for Janibek. But let's speak more about the fighters. So Janibek, he's got that great power. There's arguments that he's the most powerful in the division, don't know, but he's got that power. You can't really deny he has got that power. He sets traps well. His uppercut is amazing. The way he uses it, the way he disguises it, the way he comes in with it is just so impressive. He finds and capitalizes on what's working throughout the fight. He finds it and then just uses it over and over again, and it's smart. It's good ring IQ. He's accurate. He can work off the jab well when he wants to. He doesn't always necessarily do it, but when he uses it well. He finds openings. He's got fast hands. He closes the gap well and efficiently. He pushes his punches through the guard. He's got solid combinations. Like I said, fast hands, very fast combinations. He has them more eye-catching shots, which means if it's going to go to the judges, and he could find more success because he has the more eye-catching shots. And he can show heart, and he did in that fight versus Bentley. And that fight versus Bentley, like I said, showed a bit more. Janibek's had more success in the earlier rounds in his recent fights, and the fights before the Bentley fight, and maybe he came in a little bit too overconfident and thought he'd be able to get the stop and you get him out of there. But in the early rounds, he is quite a quick starter. He looked like he was winning dominantly, but Bentley showed a lot of heart and possibly frustrated Janibek a bit and maybe forced Janibek to have a bit more of a fight and pushed him back a little bit. And that's the fights where you need to show that you are a world champion and you deserve to be that against them tough opponents who are going to make it difficult. And he did that, and he managed to come through, and like I said, that he had them more eye-catching shots. I feel like Bentley won the rounds possibly 6 to like maybe 8, 9, and then in them later rounds, Janibek used them more eye-catching shots and found what was working better for him and showed heart, and that's what managed to make him win the fight in a fight which was a bit unusual for what we were used to for Janibek, and kind of showed that he wasn't the unstoppable force everybody thought he was, but he's still a very good fighter and can win when necessary and when times get tough. Negatives about him: he does get hits. I mean, his style means he does get hit the way he comes in. It means he can get counters. He can decline later on in the fight a little bit, like I said, against Bentley. Middle to later rounds, there was a little bit of a decline. In a war, I feel like that's not his best. I feel like when he can't dictate his shots and push you back, then he struggles a little bit, and maybe things become a bit more of an even playing field. He does tire a little bit as well. He can seem to overlook / possibly get frustrated a little bit as well if things aren't going his way. He is less experienced than Gualtieri and against a lot of the opponents that he'll be fighting at this level now, because he's been moving so quickly, and so fights like the Bentley one are vital for him, and I'm sure this one is going to be another vital fight for him to really gain his experience if he is ever going to fight possibly one of the best of the best. But like I said, he's fighting most of the best people in the division at the moment that he can at the moment, because he's not really being offered many huge fights, but this is the first one which in my opinion is a really big fight. His patience sometimes could do with a little bit of work. He does kind of force the fight a little bit as well at times if things aren't going his way. Kind of links to the whole frustration thing. And I feel like he does need to work on that a bit, because somebody like Gualtieri could really test Janibek's patience. But let's speak about Gualtieri. He's got the very good kind of fundamental boxing move. He does that very well, and he disengages when necessary and doesn't engage when not necessary. And like I said, it's a very good fundamental to have, and something which a lot of fighters struggle with. He's got great movement. He's quite fast with his movement as well. He's got a solid jab. He creates separation, creates a range between the two fighters, which could be difficult against somebody like Janibek, who is quite disguising and quite crafty and does set the traps, and so that could be quite difficult. But he's very disciplined as well, and so if Janibek is setting these traps, then I don't know if Gualtieri is going to end up falling for them, because he is very disciplined, and it takes a lot to really set him up to catch him. And so, that's something which could play into Gualtieri's hands a little bit more if he can see the traps coming, I suppose. He's defensively very good. He's quite a defensive fighter in general. He knows how to win rounds from not doing very much, and then that's when you see rounds just slip away, because you're winning rounds by doing that. And especially when what he's used to in his own country, he's going to have the judges more on his side there. Probably won't here, but he's used to having the judges on his side and being able to win rounds by not doing very much. He's confident. He's seen that in fights, the way he can move. Sometimes he'll drop his hands and move like that, and it shows confidence. And he's very well conditioned as well. The movement is always, like I said, very good lateral movement, always going around. It shows very good conditioning. Negatives about him: he's not got anywhere near as much power as what Janibek has, and he has to gain respect from Janibek. I feel like Janibek doesn't really show many fighters respect unless they do a lot to kind of deserve it, and he's going to have to gain respect, because otherwise Janibek might be able to catch him out. But that's when Gualtieri's movement, he's really going to show how good his movement is here, and it's going to have to be spot on to not get caught out by Janibek's attacking presence. He's first fight away from home this is, so it's going to be interesting to see if he's going to want to create a bit more of a statement, because like I said, this is his first one away from home. He's got a bit of a lack of an offense at times. Like I said, he's disciplined, but sometimes he doesn't take the necessary risks which need to be taken attacking wise, and so this could be a decision, or I don't know, if this goes to a decision, then it could be a very close decision, because if he's not getting hit much but not hitting much, then there's not really much for the judges to go off really, and then it's I suppose a flip of a coin to an extent. And he can get a bit reluctant at times to throw, because if he thinks, the movement's going so well, I'm not getting hit, then what's the point in throwing? It's not really the best of mindsets, but it's a difficult one to talk about really, because it's not a bad thing, but it's not a good thing at the same time. And in my opinion, he has to let his hands go more. He has to show more in this fight, and like I said, it is very difficult. But I feel like he has to really find the angles well in this fight, and I feel like there's a possibility, like I said, to counter Janibek. If he gets frustrated, leans in, lunges in, then there's possibilities to find angles and counter, and he's going to have to do that. Janibek is the favourite for this fight, and I think that Janibek will win via TKO in round 6. I think there just needs to be one opportunity that Janibek needs to find. I think Gualtieri could frustrate him in the couple earlier rounds, but if Janibek makes the necessary adjustments, finds something, which I'm sure there'll be something which could work for him. I don't think Gualtieri is going to be invincible the whole night and not get hit the whole night. Then I think he will just catch him out, and I don't think it's going to take much to be able to be able to get the stoppage. But I do think if it goes past round 6, then Janibek could get really frustrated, could get a little bit sloppy, then Gualtieri could find success and possibly win a decision. But I think Janibek's going to be able to get something just to be able to get the stoppage and be able to win that way. Where would he go on to fight next? Who would he go on to fight next? The middleweight division, everybody's talking about it at the moment. It's not really in the best of states. The champions aren't really fighting that much, and it's not really in the best of states, like I said. So I don't think he's going to end up fighting another champion after this one, because Lara, I don't think he would fight Lara after this one. Charlo, don't think he'd fight Charlo. So he'd probably defend the belts. Adamus could be a good fight, but he's with PBC, so it's unlikely, which is frustrating. Eubank Jr., you never know, that could be a fight that could be made. I don't know if Golovkin's ever really going to fight Eubank Jr. So if Eubank Jr. wants a world title shot, then I'm sure Janibek would give him it. Or a big kind of fight between two fighters who I believe are from the same place, Kazakhstan, I believe. Nursultanov is rated highly in both the World Championship mandatory, no, that's not the right word, in the World Championship boards. So that could be a good fight and could be made relatively easily, I think. But yeah, that is it for today's video. Hope you did enjoy. Like if you didn't, like this, subscribe if you're new, and thanks for watching.